double headers. So it covers a bunch of different things, the laws for the service, the rituals on Yom Kippur, that animal sacrifices were only to be offered at the temple and not other places, laws about blood, sexual practices, ethical behavior. There's a repetition of the 10 Commandments, and that's a whole subject in itself because some of the wording is a little bit different. And penalties for sexual transgressions. But I decided to go off on a tangent. In addition to that, there is an exhortation, or basically saying don't worship what's translated, at least in this Sepharia version of the Torah, that you shouldn't worship goat demons. And I thought, goat demons? What are those? I know I've read this before, but it was probably a different translation because I think that would have got my attention. So, some questions that jumped to mind, and we can certainly add to them. Does Judaism believe that demons exist? Right? Do you believe that demons exist? You, as in me, you. Where am I? Do demons reside in certain places and not others? What do we even mean by demons? What would they be made of? So these are some of the questions that I hope to answer during this class. If any other questions come up, feel free to unmute and jump in. As you know, I like these things to be more interactive. It helps us keep the focus. So we're going to have some verses, and the first one is from, where am I? From our Torah portion, the one that got me started on all of this. So in our Torah portion, it says, and that they may offer their sacrifices no more to the goat demons, after whom they stray. This shall be to them a law for all time throughout the generations. Right, so when we study Torah, usually the first thing we do, especially when we read something that's perplexing, is we go to Rashi. Rashi is supposed to be that commentator who's more literal, more, what's known as pshat, a simple understanding of things. So what does Rashi tell us? It means to the demons. And Rashi's got something to base it on. He says, similar to what it says in Isaiah, chapter 13, verse 21, and demons shall seirim, which literally means goats, but it's being understood to mean not just any goats, but goat demons. And the verse in Isaiah that says, seirim shall dance there. So we go to Isaiah and we find that verse, but I wanted to bring it in context so we know what it's talking about, right? So let me switch this to English only just so it'll make things go a little quicker. Does somebody want to read that piece from Isaiah? And tell me if it's too small, I can make it bigger. Thanks, Lenora. Is it big enough?
Yeah. And Babylon, glory of kingdoms, proud splendor of the Chaldeans, shall become like Sodom and Gomorrah, overturned by God. Nevermore shall it be settled, nor dwelt in through all the ages. No Arab shall pitch his tent there, No shepherds make flocks lie down there. But beasts shall lie down there, and the houses be filled with owls. There shall be ostriches make their home, and there shall satyrs dance, and jackals shall abide in its castles, and dragons in the palaces of pleasure. Her hour is close at hand, her days will not be long.
Thank you. Yeah, so that word, that satyr, is not a common word that we use, so I had to look it up, and sure enough, it's demons. And the big question is how much of this is poetic and how much of it is literal. And as we go through different sources, sometimes it's very clear and sometimes it's not so clear. So just like we did before, the first commentator to look at after reading it in Isaiah is again Rashi. And Rashi is very clear. We're talking about demons. Not maybe demons, not almost demons, demons. So another commentator who addresses this, both here in the book of Isaiah and the book of Leviticus, is Ibn Ezra. And at any time, if you want a little bit of a bio on any of these people, we can just click into the source and find it. So let's take a look at the Ibn Ezra. All right, it's showing up here. It'll show up on the screen in a minute. Composed in Middle Age France, Italy, and England, years around 1155 to 1165. Ibn Ezra's commentary on the Tanakh reflects his knowledge as a Hebrew grammarian and philologist. His commentary is terse and aims to discover the pshat, right? So similar to Rashi, he's going for a more literal read. The contextual meaning of the text. Ibn Ezra was known for his independent ideas, which aroused much controversy. Right? If you're going to talk about demons, you're going to get people, you're going to get people's attention. But that's not the only reason, but that's just our example. Many view Ibn Ezra as the forefather of biblical criticism. As an example, in the last chapter of Sefer Dvarim, in Deuteronomy, Ibn Ezra comments that Joshua, not Moses, wrote from this point until the end of the Torah. Right? And until that time, it was blasphemous to say that any part of the Torah, any part of the five books of Moses weren't written by Moses. Hi, Sandy. Just to catch you up, we're just reading about Ibn Ezra. Oh, the reason you can't see it is because it's still showing the other column. Because we're quoting him. So he's kind of like Rashi, that he focuses on the pshat, on the literal, but he's also a little bit more controversial, and he's willing to question things. All right, so what does he say about this? Oh, and we're talking about demons. More specifically, goat demons. All right, so what does he say about the verse in Isaiah? Beasts like shadim. So shadim is a Hebrew word for demons. In his commentary on Leviticus 17:7, which is the verse that we just read, and the italics means that this is not the words of Ibn Ezra. This is a commentator. The words of the Ibn Ezra are in not italics. So I'll just go straight to what he says. And he says, beasts like shadim, beasts in the form of wild goats. In the form of shadim, of demons like wild goats. And what he says on the verse in our parsha, in Leviticus 17:7, does somebody else want to take a shot at it? And the highlights are my own.
I'll read. It's Ruth.
Thanks, Ruth.
Unto the satyrs, Seirim are the demons. They are so called because the body of one who sees them storms. The person who sees them is agitated. This opinion connects Seirim, spelled with a sin, to the word Sa'ara, storm, spelled with a samech. However, it appears that they are so called because the insane see them in the form of goats. Seirim. The word more teaches that the Israelites did so in Egypt.
Meaning that they were already doing this practice of worshiping Seirim in Egypt.
After whom they go astray. For whoever seeks after them and believes in them strays from under his God. For he thinks that there is someone aside from God, the glorious and awe-inspiring, who does good or bad. Is there more?
Well, I cut it off there.
Okay.
So to me, it's pretty clear that the Ibn Ezra doesn't believe in them, but he believes that people believe in them. And so he's describing what they believe, right? Because over here, when he says that anyone who believes in them is straying from God, to me, that's pretty clear. Does everybody agree? All right. So Targum Yochanan on our verse, and I'll just read the verse one more time. If I find it. And this from our Parsha, that they may offer their sacrifices no more to the goat demons. This is the translation here, after whom they stray. And we're talking about the Jewish people here. All right, Targum Yochanan. Neither shall they offer any more their sacrifices unto idols, which are like unto demons. And so he seems to be saying that it's not actual demons, but idols that are like demons, after which they've wandered. This shall be an everlasting statute. Okay, the Ramban, and this is a pretty long one, so we might have to divide it up. Does somebody want to start off?
Sharon, I'll do it.
Okay, go ahead, Sharon.
No, go ahead.
All right, I'll start and then, all right.
Thank you. Go as long as you can.
Okay. And they shall no more sacrifice their sacrifices, laserim, after whom they go astray. Laserim means unto the demons. Similarly, it states, Useirim, and demons shall dance there. Isaiah 13:21. This is Rashi's language derived from the Torah Kohanim, Acharei 9:8. Now, Rabbi Abraham Ibn Ezra wrote that the demons are so called Seirim, a word which is connected with Seir, meaning hair, because on seeing them, a person's hair stands up on his body. But it is likely that they are called Seirim, a word which also means goats, because mentally deranged persons see them in the form of goats. Thus far, Now Rabbi Abraham Ibn Ezra has indeed hinted at the truth concerning the word more, as I have written above 16:8, beginning with the paragraph, and this is the secret of the matter. They used to worship, etc. The name Seirim will also be made clear to you there. They are also called Shadim, demons, as Rashi interpreted here, a word which is connected with shodad, meaning devastate, despoil, ruin. Because they dwell in devastated places such as the desert, and their principal habitat is in the far corners of the earth, such as the northern extremity of the earth, which is wasteland on account of the cold climate.
So actually, let's just stop here for a second. I think I've talked about this before, and I don't remember my source for it. But it's a shtick that I do at weddings. When, normally when people break the glass, the rabbi talks about, the shattering the glass and, may your relationship lasts, longer than being able to put it all back together, or some nice kind of poetic thing like that. Or they might talk about the destruction of Jerusalem and kind of reminding us even in times of joyous occasions. But I once read that the original intent was to scare away the Shadim, the demons that come from the north. And so you had to break the glass towards the north to keep them at bay. Right? And this Ramban here talking about them dwelling in the north made me think of that. All right. Can you do a little more, G?
Sure. Know that just as the formation at the original creation of man's body, as well as that of all living creatures, vegetation and minerals was from the four elements: fire, water, earth, and air. All right.
Yeah, don't worry about the volume page number.
Okay. These basic elements were first created by God, and out of a combination of them, he made man, etc., which were combined by divine power to form material bodies, which as a result of their thickness and coarseness could be perceived by the five senses: sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. Even so, there was a creation from only two elements, fire and air, resulting in a body which cannot be felt nor perceived by any of the five senses, just as the soul of an animal cannot be perceived by human senses because of its delicacy. The body of these creatures of two elements is of a spiritual nature on account of its delicacy and lightness. It can fly through through fire and air. And just as the combination of the four elements in any object is the cause of its existence and its destruction, since everything that is composite must ultimately revert to its original components. So it is with these beings created from a combination of only two elements. When the elements combine, the creature lives, and when they separate, decompose, it is like the dead. It is for this reason that our rabbis have said 6 characteristics have been said of Shadim. In 3, they are comparable to the ministering angels, and in 3 to human beings. The 3 things in which they are comparable to the ministering angels are that they have wings, they fly, and they know what is about to happen, as do the ministering angels. On this statement, the Gemara asked, how can it enter your mind to say that the Shadim know the future when even the ministering angels do not know it?
So let's just stop there for a second. Based on this discussion of the Talmud, would you get the impression that they believed in Shadim, that Shadim were a real thing? I'm getting a yes and a no. All right, let's keep going.
Okay, does Sharon want to take over?
Give her a second. I think she's unmuting. Sharon, you need to unmute.
Yes. Say rather thus, they hear from behind the curtain of heavens what is about to happen. The 3 things in which they are comparable to human beings are that they eat and drink, procreate, and die as human beings.
All right, hold that thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ramban now begins to explain the text quoted on the basis.
So remember, this italics is not him. This is a commentator who's giving us context.
Ramban now begins to explain the text quoted on the basis of certain scientific concepts that were prevalent in his times. prefatory word is in place. The serious student will not look upon these concepts with an eye for criticism. The theory that the whole physical world is founded upon various combinations of four elements was an Aristotelian legacy which ruled man's minds for a millennium. The extension of that theory into the exclusive world of the spirit was logical. That scientists today have moved to other theories to explain the universe and the various phenomena of life has no hearing upon the explanations which were accepted in the past. For who can foretell what knowledge will do to the established truths of today? The important thing in Rambam's presentation of this whole abstruse subject is his final conclusion that only God, in his providence, exercises power over man's destiny. Now the cause of death generally is the separation, decomposition of the components of the body.
Right, and now these are Ramban's words again, because they're not italics. Okay.
This being true of all kinds of bodies, whether they are composed of the four elements, like humans, or only of two, like Shedem. The reason for their ability to fly is because of the lightness of the two elements, fire and air, of which they are composed, as may also be seen in the case of a fowl, in which, because the elements of fire and air dominate over the small parts of the other two elements, earth and water, the fowl can hover in the air and fly, although it is composed of all four elements. Surely, then, the above-mentioned creatures that have nothing in them of the heavy elements, earth and water, possess greater hovering power in the air, to be able to fly tirelessly. The matter of eating, mentioned above in connection with these creatures, means they're deriving nourishment from the moisture of water and odors of fire, something like the fire. Okay. Oh, I just lost my spot.
That's okay. Look for that little hand. Can you see that little hand?
Oh, something like the fire that licked up the water that was in the trench. This is the purpose of the burnings which necromancers perform to the demons. The reason for their need to eat is that the fire in the air causes the drying up of their bodies, which must therefore be restored, just as a man's need for food is due to depletion in his body. As for that which has been concerning, they're hearing what is about to happen. It is because in the course of their flying on high, they became aware of things that are about to happen from the powerful forces contained in the atmosphere, that being the princes of the quiver. A reference to the forces involved in the movement of the constellations. See my Hebrew commentary, page 96. It is also from there that those who have wings tell matters. The expression is based on Ecclesiastes 10:20. For a bird of the air shall carry the voice, and that which has wings shall tell the matter of the future as it has been tested by enchanters. See Maimonides, The Commandments, Volume 2, page 32.
All right. Oh, we're almost at the end. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Where did I put it?
There.
You see it?
And
Okay.
as I,
Sorry, go ahead. See Maimonides here. Okay.
yeah, and as I will explain in its place, Deuteronomy 18:19, with the help of God. But neither of them know what is to happen for many days to come and for times that are far off. Ezekiel 12:27, but they can only inform of that which is to happen in the near future. As we know from their encounters, i.e. those of the enchanters, that they gain knowledge from the Shedem as to what has been decreed to come. Therefore, Oncleos rendered the verse, they sacrificed unto demons, lo Eloha, no gods. Deuteronomy 32:17, as they sacrificed unto demons, in which there is no utility, meaning that there's no need for them, as they do not prevent harm that is destined to come. Neither do they do anything productive, nor do they inform of times far off, so that a person may knowingly guard himself. It is this which is the sense of the expression lo aloka, Deuteronomy 32:17, which is if it is said, no power or rulership, for the word Elohim is an expression of strength and power, a composite word consisting of the words Elohim. See Rambam, Genesis 1:3, Volume 1, page 25, where it explains the name to mean force, they, the word they alluding to all other forces. Thus, Elohim means the force of all forces. Thus, the verse is stated that the demons have no strength or power whatsoever, and hence there is no need for them. For they cannot do evil, neither is it in them to do good. Jeremiah 10:5.
All right, so let's see if we can do a poll. I've never done this before. All right, let's see if I can figure it out. Your host can post questions here. I guess I don't have such powers. All right, maybe next time. All right, so we'll do I don't think so. It says your host. So, all right, just put, do you think Ramban, with an N, believes demons are real? Let's see if we can take our tech to another level here. Let me know when you did it.
Where are we seeing it?
Well, I don't know. That's why I told them to let me know when you did it. So I'll know where to look, to start looking. Dan, you're on mute. Ramban with an N at the end. Believe demons were real. I'm guessing something will pop up and ask us, but let's see. Dan, let me know when it's ready. A new poll has been launched. Can everybody see the pop-up?
Nope.
If you go to the top right of your screen, there's like a triangle, a square, and a circle.
There is.
Right left of where it says the time. Does everybody see it? So click on that. And then hit
I'm on my
poll.
phone. I'm on my phone. I don't see anything there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Don't worry about it.
Oh, wait. One active. Oh, yeah.
All right. Three people have been able to do it. What's that? 4. All right. So everybody seems to agree, at least whoever was able to vote, that the Rambam believes they're real. He just believes that they're powerless. Right? So it's fascinating stuff because we don't really think and talk about these things that much. I think a lot of people have different personal beliefs or superstitions or whatever you want to call them. But in terms of Torah study, we don't really think about this very much.
Well, Rabbi, the description, although I came a little late, seems to correspond with how Ezekiel, I think it was Ezekiel, described the angels with four faces and wings, and that seems very similar, and that's coming from prophet. Right. And secondly, this also reminds me of the golem.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even though that doesn't seem to come about until the Middle Ages. So I think our history has been one of, superstition, for lack of a better word, except they don't think it's superstition.
Yeah. And I think some of our customs that we still have, including, for example, a pregnant woman going to a cemetery, or there's a whole bunch of them that don't really have a whole lot of basis in halacha. It's not like you can find somewhere in the Torah that says it, and it certainly seems like superstition. And even if, for a lot of people, even if they believe that intellectually, it's a deep-seated belief, and they don't want to take that risk to find out. All right. So this is the piece from the Talmud, which we pretty much read. So just for the sake of time, we'll skip it. So let's see what Seforno says. He's a common commentator on Torah, and he often brings a different angle to things. Does somebody else want to read? Steve, are you there? I see your phone there, but I don't see you. All right, you might have stepped away, or it's not working. Or anybody else want to give it a go? All right, I can read a little bit. So Seforno, Chukat Olam Tiyazot. This should be an everlasting law, not to offer sacrifices to the demons, even though they were not being equated with deities in any manner, but were considered only as creatures that can be employed by their human masters, right? As opposed to these sort of either God-directed or self-directed scary things. To distant countries. We have documented proof of this in the case of Joseph Shida, the demon named Joseph. And you can look at the Talmud, Sanhedrin 59. And above the demon who was prominent in the household of Rav Bar Rav Ashi, had such demons been considered deities, it is inconceivable that people of Rav Ashi's stature or of Papa's stature would have had any track with them whatsoever. In the Talmud, and I brought some of the Talmud quotes about different things similar to this, and hopefully we'll have time to get to some of them. I found a ton of sources preparing for this class. I was quite surprised, actually. There's no way we're going to get to all of them, and I didn't even put all of them in. It is reported in the Talmud that whereas little is known about the manner of these demons' creation, right? And we saw Ramban take a shot at it and say that they're made of only 2 of the 4 elements. Where am I? Known about the form, the manner of these demons' creation, they are known to eat and drink just as human beings. It is further worthy of mention that the sages collectively refer to the phenomenon of the demons as mazikim, right? Which is a little bit different to what the Ramban was saying at the end there, where he's basically saying they had no power. If they have no power, then they can't really destroy it, right? They multiply in a manner similar to humans, and they die a regular death. They see without being seen themselves. Apparently, although they are composed of composite material, their bones are extremely thin and transparent. The author speculates just as ordinary human beings in common with the animal possesses a nefesh chiyuni, intangible life source, or soul, which seeing that it dies with the body it inhabits as distinct from the human neshama, which is an intangible spirit emanating from the celestial regions, is basically terrestrial in nature. These demons... Where am I? Too far? Oh, no. These demons, here we go. These demons are powered by such a life force. So it's a little bit hard to understand what he's saying there. All right, the reason we find that life force referred to on occasion as nefesh is the fact that it cannot exist without its tangible partner, the one which feeds on food and drink, secured from what is available in our terrestrial universe. All right. Anyway, you get the idea that he certainly, I think he does believe that they exist. All right, just to get some more sources in here. Penine Halacha, Days of Awe. This is a more modern source, but it's interesting because it makes its way into halacha, into practice, not just in terms of theory. There are two reasons why goats specifically were used for atonement. Right, because the context that it tells the story in is also talking about the ritual on Yom Kippur, and there's the famous scapegoat ritual, right? Even though some argue that that's a mistranslation, and there's all kinds of other interesting things about that. But essentially, so it talks about that ritual, and now it's talking about not worshiping goat demons. So clearly not clearly, but it seems like there might be a connection. So he's spelling it out. There are two reasons why goats specifically were used for atonement. First, from an interior perspective, goat blood, and this is, this and, what some of what the Rambam said is a good reminder to rabbis in general to stick to what they know. When they start theorizing about, areas they're not expertise, they run the risk of sounding bad as we continue to learn more. All right. Goat blood resembles human blood more than that of any other animal. So I have no idea if that's true. This finds expression, this finds expression in the exceptional vitality of he-goats and the sprinkling of their blood in the Kodesh HaKodashim, in the Holy of Holies, expresses Israel's yearning to cling to God devotedly, like a he-goat, who's very, passionate. Second, from an external perspective, goats tend to be wild and destructive. The angel of destructive forces and the guardian angel of the wicked, Esav, are called Seir, goat, because their specialty is destruction and mayhem. When idolaters wanted to save themselves from destruction or wreak destruction on their enemies, they offered sacrifices to goat-like deities, gods of evil and destruction and mayhem. When idolaters wanted to save themselves from destruction or wreak destruction on their enemies, I said that, okay. Therefore, the Torah warns Israel that they must offer their sacrifices to God alone. They may offer their sacrifices no more to the goat demons after whom they stray. And from the Zohar, and you see more talk about these sorts of things in the Kabbalah. So the Zohar says, and this is a Zohar on Bereshit, and now we're kind of veering towards a different demon-like kind of figure that's become popularized, which is Lilith. And what was Lilith? Who was Lilith? Is a fascinating discussion. So let's see what the Zohar says. You may say that he gained nothing, but he said to him, and I have oxen and donkeys. These are sentences of judgment, that is, demons. When those two collaborate, they cooperate to harm the world, meaning it is not their nature to inflict damage, except when they are joined. Right? So the Zohar is notoriously hard to make sense of on a simple read without having a lot of context. So trying to study it on one's own, it hurts the brain. For this reason, it is written, you shall not plow with an ox and a donkey together. This causes these two demons, namely the ox and the donkey, to be joined and to inflict damage on the world. Right, so the Zohar itself is, okay, it clearly is mentioning demons. It's saying that there's actually rules based on these demons. So let's see. This is a verse from the Talmud Brachot. In another brisa, it was taught that Abba Binyamin says, if the eye was given permission to see, no creature would be able to withstand the abundance and ubiquity of the demons and continue to live unaffected by them. It's kind of like what they say about hot dogs. If you saw how they were made, you would never eat them again. In this case, if you were able to see what's really going on, you would give up. We don't stand the chance. Similarly, Abaye said, right, and these seem to be kind of hyperbole. It's hard to tell how much they meant this seriously or not. Similarly, Abaye said, they are more numerous than we are, and they stand over us like mounds of earth surrounding a pit. So when we're feeling down or we're feeling paralyzed or having a hard time, it's not because we're depressed. You do not need antidepressants anymore. Just need to exercise the demons. All right, I'm being a little bit sarcastic, but this was what they knew. They didn't have psychology. They didn't have explanations for those things. Rav Huna said, each and every one of us has 1,000 demons to his left and 10,000 to his right. And this resonates for anybody who's been to a funeral, either for a family member or otherwise. When the body is being carried to the plot, there's a specific psalm, Psalm 91, which is recited usually by the rabbi. And one of the lines in it says, 1,000 may fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand. They will not approach you. And it's like, what? 1,000 what? Who? So Rav Huna is explaining that by saying these are the demons. God protects man from these demons, as it says. Okay. Summarizing the effect of the demons, Rava said, the crowding at the Kala, so this is not talking about the Kala as in the bride, but the Yarchi Kala, which was a time, it was basically like a Talmud conference that they would have at the end of holidays. So they were pilgrimage holidays, so a lot of people would come. So they would first have the ritual and the worship, and then they would have a Torah study. They would have a big conference. So the crowding at the Kala, the gathering for Torah study during El and Adar, is from the demons, those knees that are fatigued, even though one did not exert himself, is from the demons. Those clothes of the sages that wear out, despite the fact that they do not engage in physical labor, is from friction with the demons. Those feet that are in pain is from the demons. I mean, it's fascinating. One who seeks to know that the demons exist should place fine ashes around his bed, and in the morning the demon's footprints appear like chickens' footprints in the ash. One who seeks to see them should take the afterbirth of a firstborn female black cat, born to first born female black cat. What? Born to burn it in the fire, grind it, and place it in his eyes, and he will see them. I do not encourage this behavior, just for the record. He must then, who knows what's in that. He must then place the ashes in an iron tube sealed with an iron seal, gushpanka, lest the demons steal it from him and then steal the opening, so he will not be harmed. Rav Bavli bar Abaya performed this procedure, saw the demons, and was harmed. The sages prayed for mercy on his behalf, and he was healed. All right, so we are out of time. As you can see from the little thingy that tells you how far down we are on the page, there's still like a third of the way to go just with this stuff. So depending on what I find for next week, if I find something interesting for next week, then we'll do that. If not, then maybe we'll continue with this. Although we can make a poll. Dan, you want to make another poll? Continue with the demons or move on? I think he might be busy. Yeah, he looks like he's busy. All right. Or he's muted. All right. So shake your head yes if you want to continue with this. No if you want to move on. No, move on. You're done. Got it. Okay. I think I see a consensus. Very good. What's that?
I said it's too far out for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think it's good to know that these sources exist, and it helps understand some of the things, some of the traditions that have evolved. That from a modern perspective, it's like why, how, and that's the idea of conservative Judaism is we don't have to necessarily continue to do everything that was done within understand the world that was very different. And our challenge is finding what's still true to us today and following the halacha, God's will, as it's expressed. All right, I'm done.
You just said finding what's true for us. Maybe it's not true, but it's something that we can believe in. It may not be a truth, but it's something that we can still hold on to.
Exactly, and that's why I say true to us, because that's a subjective truth.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. As opposed to an ultimate truth, which is not negotiable.
Right.
I think, though, that the fact that they're considered demons is a little off-putting because we don't usually think of demons.
Yeah.
But I would be interested to go over Ezekiel's description of the angels again, because it's just wild. It's just wild. Maybe not next week, but for future, because that seems a lot more palatable. Because we do agree that there are angels.
Right.
It's the demons.
Yeah. And you're right. These words have connotations, and that's the challenge of anybody who's translating, is keeping that in mind. But even then, a word may take on more, go in a different direction over time. What was it? I'm trying to think of, I think in this week's Parsha, there was a word that, it's not coming to mind, but a word that had been
Dybbuk?
Well, Dybbuk would fall into this category. Shadim, Dybbuk.
Golem.
No, with the leprosy, right, that we talked about. right? It was, I think the King James version, translation of the Bible used the word leprosy, and then people just kept using it.
Mm.
And nobody bothered to say, hold on a second, does this fit the leprosy as we know it? Otherwise, we shouldn't be using this word.
Right. But, when you think about the word Dybbuk, it seems to, I'm not sure of this, but it seems that it's more Middle Ages, similar to the golem. So yeah. Dybbuk might be considered an evolution of the idea of demons, a more acceptable evolution.
Yeah.
Because the demons sound more like they're associated with the devil.
Right. Yeah, and it's and there's no there's this one. So the word seirim literally means goats, right? But because our verse says that people were worshiping them, so then the question is what were they worshiping? Or, for example, that verse in Isaiah, which are really the only two verses in the written Torah that refer to them, that these Seirim would be dancing over, the destroyed Babylon, can be a figure of speech, or it can be, actual spirits of some kind.
It's very interesting.
All right. So I know we have services tomorrow night.
Services tomorrow night. And we have the Lador Vador this coming Thursday, right, Ruth?
Correct. 7:00.
7:00. Mazel tov again.
Thank you very much. As I will be saying, will be saying for me, I've just been doing things that I enjoy doing and are meaningful to me, and it's just very nice to be acknowledged. That's, of course, not why I've done all that.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Because it does take a lot of energy and takes you away from other things as well. So,
yep.
It is.
You would know.
Can be considered a bit of a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is nice to be acknowledged. You're right. Yeah.
How's everybody doing? Are you getting out a little bit more? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep. Try to get out before the clouds